All right, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to MLS Monday here.
Sure.
So let's dive right into the topic at hand. So today's topic is our delayed marketing. I'm going to go through and talk. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this session. And we're going to talk about the multiple listing options for sellers. So there's multiple names of this program. It came out as delayed marketing, which it's really not. And then they came up with multiple listing options for sellers. And I'll be the first to tell you, it's really not. Okay. Um, and I'll show you why. But I think we have, we've always had the yes, no internet option. We'll talk about that in detail. Um, but we've always had the yes, no option. I'm answering my phone on my watch. And I put it on airplane mode no matter what when I'm on these things. I still answered it. I guess I'm on somebody.
Somebody's the MLS Monday.
So, but when we looked at doing this, we wanted to, number one, give enough delayed marketing time. We do not have a coming soon status currently, but we wanted to also comply with this. And we had, I thought, best in class from the get-go, which was internet yes, no. And so the way the system works is if you put no on internet yes, no, then you are going to then end up with your listing not being on any of the portals. So name your favorite flavor. It will not also end up on IDX, which is the websites of other subscribers. So it does not end up on the internet. Okay. So that is what internet yes, no. We've always had that. And there's reasons why sellers would not want their listing on the internet. And when I was in production, I did sell several baseball players' homes, and they just did not want it on the internet. They did not want it on the Z word, the H home, the R word. They didn't want it on other websites. And they, obviously it was a $3, $4, $5 million home, and they wanted some privacy to that. So there are legitimate reasons why a customer, a seller would not want it. That's why they call it seller choice. So we do have that. And they do allow you to opt out for that or opt in for that. Okay. We also have a thing called an office exclusive, where the seller opts out of any kind of MLS participation, where it's completely an office exclusive. You're not allowed to advertise that anywhere. You can't put a sign in the front yard. You can't put it on, Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. And again, there's a certain type of customer that's going to want that type of listing, that baseball player, that plastic surgeon, Dr. France, somebody like that wants it to be a lot more private. And you've got that as that agent, you've got that pool of people, of buyers that you could possibly bring to that. But they're opting out of any kind of MLS, participation at all. So again, delayed marketing or multiple listing option for sellers. Let's explain what that is. So it's where public exposure is held back for a period of time, is how NAR rolled this out. So public exposure being specifically on the internet, being specifically on the actual websites of other participants, or actually being on syndication sites, that's what you're holding back. So a couple of things that do need to occur with this is it does need to be in the MLS, right? So within the MLS, it does have to be put in there. And we're going to show you where you have delayed marketing, yes, no. And our board of directors made the decision to do delayed marketing up to 7 days, which means as a seller, I could tell you, Joanna, I want you to delay my marketing, my public exposure, my syndication to third party, 3 days. And you can put it in 3 days from the time the listing starts. I can't go more than 7. Now, why not? Well, that's the rule we put in place, right? But after 7, do they want it on the internet at all? Right? So then you go into internet, yes, no. No, I don't want it on there at all. Right? I'm completely withholding it from being exposed to any kind of online marketing. That's portals and IDX. Remember, it's just not on portals, it's also IDX, which is other agents' websites, and other agents spend a lot of money using those websites to capture leads, and people are looking at those websites. I just recently talked to a realtor who, they're getting 15 to 20,000 people, go into their website in a single month, and these aren't unique. They could be repeat people, but that's a lot of people, a lot of traffic that listing's getting. Not to mention the portals. Okay, so a NAR delayed marketing exempt listing allows sellers delayed public advertising like IDX and syndication for a specific period of time for Florida Gulf Coast MLS. That's 7 days, while still allowing the listing to be marketed to all members of the MLS, ensuring buyer access through the MLS system and agent-to-agent communication. So I have to have it in the MLS. I can have it delayed marketing. You can search by that, which means it's not on portals. And we'll talk about the cool things on both sides. And then you can put a sign in front, you can put it on Facebook, you can do what you want to do with it. It's in the MLS.
You're within clear cooperation.
You're within clear cooperation guidelines. Okay. Seller must sign a disclosure agreeing for delayed marketing, acknowledging the benefits of immediate public marketing, and then waiving that right of immediate. Okay. This new option provides flexibility for sellers while maintaining the core principle of clear cooperation. So what does this bring to the table? It brings seller flexibility. Seller can choose when they want to opt it in. Now, we've got a pretty balanced market right now. We've got 6 to 7 months of inventory. I don't know of any sellers, unless they have a really good reason not to want it syndicated, but that is the seller choice. Okay. MLS visibility. The listing is still visible to all participants, which means if you got delayed marketing on your house, on your listing, I can still see it. Okay, I can still see it. I can still schedule a showing for it. It just may not be on Zillow. Now, we'll talk about the good parts. If I've got a customer, Bobby, and Bobby is looking for a 3-2 pool home in Cape Coral, and he's sending these listing numbers he's finding in all these portals, and I all of a sudden send Bobby a listing,
And he hasn't
right? He hasn't seen yet. Well, where'd you find that? Well, I don't see it anywhere.
A realtor wizard.
Realtor wizard, right? So I'm going to see it, and I'm going to be able to take that person, schedule a showing to that property. Okay. And then it won't be anywhere else. Now, at 7 days, that listing, a maximum or whatever day you put into the system, but at 7 days or whatever day you put in the system, it will then automatically trigger to be on the internet, which then will put it on all the portals and all the IDX. Okay, that will be an automatic that ends up going. So it's delayed, but it's not eternally delayed. Okay.
So we've got a question here, which I think you just kind of answered, right? It says, but will this still spill over into Realtor.com and Zillow? So if you've got delayed marketing, yes, marked, it will not spill over until your designated date, which is up to 7 days. And if you're utilizing the other feature, which is internet listing on the internet, and you select no, it will never go out until you change that to yes. So that's the dependent on the 2 different options that you use.
Yep. Again, the main thing I'll just tell you, and this is a broker question, ask your brokers. I'm not your broker, I'm not your attorney, I'm not your therapist. As I always say, this is a broker question, but I mean, you have to disclose it. Like when we had our data change on July 15th, and it wasn't hooked up, but we had one portal that wasn't connected, right, out of the gate. And you know this because you got, we took thousands of calls that week, thousands upon thousands of calls that week. And customers were livid. We were taking customers from, calls from customers. My listing's not on ABC or whatever it is.
Realtors right? On a cruise. I don't see my listing. I'm calling MLS.
Correct. And they did. Yeah. Because they didn't see it on the portal, right? We had people that hate the portals, the Z word, the R word, the H word, whatever word. And they called and said, my listing's not on X, Y, and Z. It's an issue. So the customer needs to know. It's about transparency to customers. So make sure they know. So delay marketing, public marketing, the primary difference is that the listing is not immediately shared with the public via IDX or syndication of third-party websites. That's the main difference. And then signed disclosure, seller must provide written consent acknowledging they understand the trade-off of foregoing the immediate benefits of broad public exposure. Again, they may not want it out there because they're launching it now and they're gonna be out of town,
Mhm.
right? So they don't want a ton of showings while they're not in town.
Photos aren't done, property's not ready. There's a lot of
A
different
lot of
options.
reasons, right? Clear cooperation policy maintained. This option does not negate the clear cooperation policy. It offers an exception for the defined period, ensuring that all listings still ultimately enter the MLS system. And I will say that our policy is in alignment with Benita Estero and with NABOR as it stands today.
Can you talk to a little bit, because when they first announced this in January from NAR that they were going to be implementing this, we got a lot of calls about the difference between, does this mean that clear cooperation is going away? There's a lot of theories, conspiracies, things like that, that clear cooperation was going away, this was going to replace it, or a lot of people who maybe weren't completely educated on what clear cooperation is are confused as to what the difference is between these two policies and really what the relationship between the two policies is.
Right. This allows, so the group that talked about this, I sat on that board for 2 years. That kind of made
Which
the
board is
policy.
that?
It's the National Association of Realtors Emerging Technology and MLS Advisory Board.
I don't think the name is long enough, but okay.
And we talked about this for 2 years. And, clear cooperation says you cannot market a property that is not an MLS, basically.
Okay.
And if you do market a property, let's say you put it on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
let's say this beautiful 3-2 Cape Coral pool home, you have a very finite amount of time, which is 24 hours, to put it into the MLS, right?
8 hours.
Yes. 48 hours to put it in MLS. So, but it's very finite on that because they don't want you withholding that unless you got a written agreement that says they're not going to participate in MLS at all, right? Which is your office exclusive, if you will. Okay, non-participant agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be in MLS in 48 hours. You have to put it in there. If you put it on Facebook, you put a sign in front. Marketing is very global and for interpretation, but it includes online marketing. So a lot of people said, well, I don't want it to go to the portals, and I'm okay with having MLS,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't want to be in the portals or IDX.
Just not ready.
Right, they're not ready for that. So this is where that came. Now, in our policy, the way that we wrote our policy is that days on market start immediately. Price changes within that 7-day period will show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is for transparency. Buyers and sellers, and I mean, you and I were both in the industry. We'd love to have a hocus pocus that says, well, this house really was on the market for 772 days. It was.
Where's that reset button? Can
Yeah.
I just type in 0?
Right. And I know people play games and go, okay, let's hold it off for 31
Yeah.
days. I
Take it
know
off the
that.
market, put it back on.
But I'm going to tell you, as technology changes and you have AI, you're not going to fool the buyers anymore. So it truly is about transparency and having the hard conversation with that seller saying, Mr. Jacobs, you have got to come in realistically on your price because it's going to sit in the market for 770 days and there's nothing you can do about it except extend your listing or let it expire. Right? That's the true conversation.
Yeah. You're seeing a lot of the portals nowadays anyway. I mean, aside from just like what we all see and believe in Matrix, you go out there, you wait your 30 days, you reset that CDOM to 0.
Mm-hmm.
But the portals are still displaying that history. It's not hidden on a tab. Like ours, you've got to click into a different tab to find the history and go, oh my gosh, look at how many times this has been listed. Look at how long it hasn't sold. But your portals, the Z word, the R word, they're putting that stuff right up front.
Mhm.
They're also they're doing different calculations themselves and not using the way that we math out the CDOM. They're
Correct.
using their own, and it's more transparent. And you don't want to be the person or the realtor or the group that is less transparent than the syndication site, because then they're doing their job better than you are.
Correct. And the consumer already doesn't trust us as realtors, right? Well, I mean, they don't. I mean, we're salespeople, right? So you've got to have that transparency and that being forthright and letting people know how the system works. And you have no control what the portal does, right? And people can go out here and say, well, we don't want it listed on this. But when it wasn't for that week, we got thousands of calls saying, why isn't it?
Yeah.
So I would tell you that from the evidence, it's the opposite. It really is. And if you're going to list my house, because now I'm a consumer, I want it out there. I want to cast the largest net to get that right buyer that's willing to pay top dollar for my house. And that would, what I'm hiring the listing agent to do, right? Is to do that. So, so clear cooperation is still maintained. And then the delayed marketing allows you to put it in the MLS, right? So you have that 48 hours. So in essence, you advertise on Facebook on Tuesday, it's got to be an MLS within 48 hours. And you put delayed marketing, it's got to be syndicated out within 7 days, right? Is kind of how that works. So, yeah, and clear cooperation, to your point, the portals make their own rules. Like we've got no power over that except to, they say, well, cut a feet off. Well, how are you going to support that in court? Ours went into effect last week, Wednesday, our policy. The policy needs to be in effect no later than the 30th of September to implement it. So we have a question?
Yeah, let's see. The days on market don't account for changes that have taken place on the property. Sometimes there are big improvements made on the listing itself. That should be a new listing because you are no longer selling the same thing you may have been selling on day one. Well, yeah, when we see, for example, we get a lot of questions for properties, especially out in Cape Coral Lee County, primarily our MLS, where somebody will be selling like a multi-lot unit, multiple PIDs or something that's been merged, and then they've gone ahead and they've separated it out, right? Now we're selling the lot separate, we're selling the property separate. They've gone to down to the county, done what they needed to do, separated out the properties. Those become new listings, things like that. For sure, you're not talking about those special examples. If your property is completely changed over, then it might be time for a new listing for sure. But I think in Jason's example, it's talking about just taking it off the market, waiting 30 days and putting it back on just so that you can reset, just so that it looks like a new listing. That's what you're going to see these portals kind of trying to display the history or the true numbers or what that property's been through most recently.
Right.
But it is a good point, Mick.
And your MLS is just so you know, your MLS fought really, really, really hard to make sure that after flipping it to yes, right, your 7 days or 4 days, 2 days, whatever, that it does get displayed. Because if you read some of the portal's own internal policy was, if you don't display it from day one, we're not going to display it at all.
Yeah, some of those websites said you don't play our game, you don't play at all.
You don't play at all. And we fought to make sure that you guys have that 7 days. We're in alignment with the entire district, so we can do that. And we went to the portal and said, listen, we're going to do a 7-day delay marketing to be in compliance with NAR, and we still want our members to be able to syndicate and for you not to block their listing. It wasn't a handshake deal. So, but that's what you'll see. So I'm going to give you guys my top 10 here. Oh, let's go to this. Yeah, let's go to that stream. Let's share that. Okay. So this is out there you'll see this actually out in NAR. If you go to their website, and if you just Google clear cooperation or you Google delayed marketing or their other favorite one they got here is
Seller's Choice.
MOLS, multiple listing options for sellers.
There is like so many different alphabet soups for them.
Right. So, option active listings, full MLS marketing exposure. The top one is advertisement through IDX and syndication. Option 2 is office exclusive, exempt listing. So office exclusive, period. You have 1 business day and then advertisement through IDX and syndication. Again, disclosure signed and then allowed period set by MLS. Ours is 7 days and then it flips over, becomes publicly available. And again, publicly just open free websites, which are portals. Again, I would have probably named it that, but I wasn't in the room when they named it. So I'm going to give you my top 10 here of things that stay or don't stay. And number 1 is CCP stays in full effect. There's no changes to that clear cooperation policy. This actually works alongside of that, giving sellers more option while maintaining cooperation, fair housing protection. So that does not stay, or it does stay. 2 is new flexibility with delayed marketing. So again, delayed public marketing gives flexibility to that seller. You need to understand it to be able to display it. Office exclusive versus delayed marketing. Office exclusive means no MLS or public marketing at all, and delayed marketing listing is filed with the MLS, put in. and accessible to participants and subscribers, but held back from IDX syndication. Number 4, seller disclosure is mandatory, so they have to sign off that they understand this. Showings are still allowed, even after during delayed marketing. The listing is treated as active. In fact, in our system, what we'll show you is it will be an active listing, but you'll be able to sort by delayed marketing, yes, no. Showings, offers, and cooperation are allowed based on seller instructions. And then number 6 is marketing outside IDX is permitted. Yard signs, social media, your own websites, other channels, hot air balloons, whatever you decide to put out there. 7 is one-to-one broker communication exempt. NAR clarified that one-to-one and broker-to-broker communication does not trigger CCP. Okay. Number 8 is MLS discretion on delayed marketing windows. So we did make that 7 days. Again, to be in alignment with the rest of the district. Number 9 is timeline for implementation. Again, September 30th is a deadline. We marked this last week. And then last but not least is number 10, more options for sellers, more transparency for buyers. And that's what this is about. So these changes give sellers control over how the property is marketed while ensuring buyers gain access still. So it's not being, so it's not out there and buyers can't get in the house waiting for that listing agent to double side that transaction possibly. So again, this is transparency. So with that, let's go out to the matrix system to show you where you'll find this, because this is the exciting part where the technology actually works. So
super exciting. All right, so what I'm going to show you guys first is how to search. And then I know we've been getting a good amount of calls on the input side when you go to put that listing in. So we'll cover that on the back end as well. So we'll start with the classic search, what most people are comfortable with, but it's going to be the same process for that new search if you guys joined us last week for MLS Monday. Inside any of your search fields, whether you're doing residential rental, lot and land, this feature is in every single type of data bucket. You've got your standard search fields here, which you've always had, and this is something that you will be adding on. With it launching last week on Wednesday, most of us don't have this added on here yet, but you'll click that add remove button to get a new search field and then search for delayed marketing. So you can search by the date, or you can simply search by yes, no. I'm going to add both of those in there so you can see what they look like. And we will move it to the top and go back. So now when you come out to your search page, you'll notice that I just click back. It's still down here. All right, guys. Moved it on me. No, I've already added it. So when you come in here now for delayed marketing and you come down to the bottom, you'll be able to search by that date or by yes, no. Again, you can add this into any of the buckets. So an interesting number just to show you guys, if we go to cross property, this will pull every single data bucket. So that is lot and land, commercial, residential, rentals, all of that. You can see we've been playing with this already. So the delayed marketing filter is in there. Same way in here, you would click add remove and either add in the yes, no field, add in the date field. And we're going to go ahead and click delayed marketing yes. And you'll see we've got 0 matches. So far, we launched it last week. Nobody's used it yet.
right, we've had hundreds of listings added.
Yeah.
And nobody's relaying the marketing to the syndicated website.
If we go ahead and click no, you'll notice this pulls just those that have used this feature so far. So since last Wednesday, we've had 487 listings put in here so far. But once this has been implemented and people are starting to use it more towards the end of the year, what you'll be able to do is add in this filter right at the bottom, click delayed marketing yes, and you'll be able to instantly see a list of properties that have not gone out to websites yet, that have gone nowhere except for right here inside of the MLS.
Right, which allows you to do the search, set it to customer if it fits in that bucket.
Correct.
What have you, so.
Correct. And if you needed to do a quick look at a listing, you can always scroll down to the bottom and find the delayed marketing button down at the bottom of the listing as well. So from an input standpoint, the other side of this, when putting in a new listing, we'll start with a residential listing and really just start with a blank listing. Don't pull anything in from the tax roll or anything like that. Where you're going to find this field is right here in the syndication button. So this is where you will select delayed marketing, yes or no. So if we select yes, what it will then require is what date you want this to go live. And this is only going to allow you to put in a date that is 7 days out. As Jason talked about, we've got the 7-day restriction on there. So if you were to select something longer than 7 days, it is going to give you an error. And what it's basing this date on is what you put in here on this tab for that listing date. So this listing date is based on your contract, right? What day is it supposed to be active? And then what day is it supposed to expire? You plug these in right from your listing contract. So if we were to say that today is the listing, and we selected something that was more than 7 days out, when we go to submit it, it is going to give us an error when we go to change this to active. We'll go back here. So if we tried to make this active right now, with those days, it will give us several red triangles, right? Because we didn't fill anything out on this listing, but it will stop us once we fix everything else here from this delayed marketing button going anything further than 7 days. And also, Jason talked about before, this feature's been around for a very long time, but if you've not used it before, you probably don't even pay attention upon input. Listing on the internet, yes or no. This is the feature that we've always had. So if you don't want to set a date to something, or you get to the end of your delayed marketing timeline and they still don't want it going out to the internet, you can simply turn this button, listing on the internet, no. And we also see that as a mistake a lot. People call us and they say, hey, my listing is not showing up anywhere. I put it on 3 days ago. Why isn't it on Zillow? Why isn't it on Realtor? It's nowhere. We come out here and sometimes you've just accidentally clicked listing on the internet. No, and it's that simple. So those are, it's a really not a big learning curve. That's how you're going to search for it. That's how you're going to do input for it. This field right here, the delayed marketing, yes or no, that's required. Everybody so far has been clicking no. So that date field is not going to be required unless you click yes. And I think that's everything on the technology piece. So can you talk about the importance around why we're getting a lot of calls that people want to know how to search for it and why they would want to search for those delayed marketing listings?
Yeah, I mean, if you go by and you see a sign and your customers doesn't see it on the internet, right? And you're like, oh, they may be in clear cooperation violation. Well, no, there could be a situation where it's just delayed marketing. It's not out there yet.
Yeah.
From a customer service perspective with your buyer, it's a great way to provide things that they can't find on their own. So you increase tremendous value. And I'd had that conversation, honestly. I mean, again, I'm not your broker, therapist, or attorney, but I would have that conversation sitting down with my client at the customer, when I sit down and do kind of a buyer consultation and have you sign the buyer broker agreement and go, listen, Joanna, I may find things that you won't find outside because we have a thing called delayed marketing where sellers have a choice of when to market it with the IDX and online syndication. So there may be things I find on ZR or H that you don't see. And I'm going to send those to you. And that's part of why you want to work with me, because I know how to search this on the MLS and I know how to look at it. So those would be things from a consumer perspective that would be valuable as a buyer, right?
Yeah, I had a member who called in last week when we launched it because they were actually really excited to start utilizing the delayed marketing from the buyer side perspective, right? And what they called in to ask was like, hey, how do I search for it? Because they were setting up those filters, and I'll give you guys kind of a little secret. You can use it or not use it. But what they already had was a regular auto email that was going out to their client, right? They were Cape Coral, 3-2, pool home, waterfront, whatever. They get their morning email every morning that says, here's your new listings in Cape Coral. That's what they have for the subject line, new homes in Cape Coral for you. That's their regular email they get. That's separate. They went out and set up all of their clients on a different auto email with a different subject line that said, like coming soon properties not on the market yet, whatever it was, and they set it up just for anything that was delayed marketing. So the moment something hit the MLS that was delayed marketing, meaning it's in our MLS, but you're not going to see it in any of your searches out on Zillow, Realtor, whatever
Right.
have you.
They're getting.
But it was a separate alert with a separate subject line, so it would really catch their attention, and they would see, you know, those magical listings that nobody else has access to. I
Right.
thought it was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, and to your point, right now we don't have those, but you don't know what the future's gonna bring.
People calling and asking about it, so I think we're going to start to see it in the next month or so.
Yep, I'm sure we'll have people that will delay it. Just remember to disclose it, have it signed off on.
Mhm.
And I will say, I mean, interest rates now, I mean, they're expecting it to be at 6 or under soon. With some cuts, so I mean, you'll see inventory start to get sucked up, and put some buyers at an affordability standpoint on that standpoint, so you may see it.
Yeah.
Again, this is just a rule, so, um,
So to kind of jump from there, I do want to show you guys one more thing. We talked a little bit about, you've got the delayed marketing, which is your set timeline. You've got listing on the internet, yes or no, which, you know, could just not be on the internet indefinitely. But then we've got the separate category, which is the next step further, where somebody says, hey, I'm not going to market it at all, but I also don't want it on the MLS at all. It's not ready for showings or anything like that. We use the MLS non-participation form. We've seen some MLSs in the area with this new status get rid of the non-participation form, but we still have that in place. And I'm just going to show you guys, because that's a question we've been getting a lot this week, is where to find that. It is in all of your forms portals. So if you use Form Simplicity or Dotloop, any of our partnered forms portals, they're in there. If you don't, however, you can come in here to links, scroll all the way down to the bottom of your resources in here, and you've got the MLS non-participation form. This form, if you fill this out, excludes you from having to put it in the MLS, right? So maybe you get the listing, but they are doing an estate sale, they're getting the property ready, whatever is going on in their life, they're not going to be ready to put it on the MLS or have any showings for 2 to 3 weeks. This is the form that you would use so that you are still within the compliance of the Florida Gulf Coast MLS rules, because it has to be on the MLS within 48 hours. That was a question for you, sir.
I'm ignoring the question.
All right, so it's got to be on the MLS immediately. But if they can't, you know, they can't do showings, you can't put it on the MLS, go ahead and utilize this form. You file it with us. But the confusion with this form too is, you know, we would have people fill this out and send it in to us, and then they would go ahead and go out and market it coming soon, or, you know,
Not
it
giving you the right to market it.
It does not protect you from clear cooperation. That is an NAR policy. You've got something, it's got to be in the MLS, right? If you've marketed it, it's got to go in the MLS, whether you filled out this form or not. This is just so if, you know, somebody were to turn you in and say, hey, I heard, you know, Sally Realtor over here has a listing agreement and she didn't put it in the MLS. We're going to reach out to you and say, hey, you know, per our rules, you were supposed to put it in the MLS. But if you've got this form, this will allow you to keep it out of the MLS, but you still, you know,
You still
can't
can buy
market
it.
it.
Yeah, you can't market it. It doesn't, it's
Yeah.
not a get out of jail free card. I mean, we've had people go, oh, I've got this form and we filled it out. It's non-participant. Doesn't mean you can advertise it.
Yeah.
Um,
And it says that on the form too,
Yeah.
but I gotta point it out.
so let's talk about some really important things, because
Important things.
I mean, this is all important, but let's talk a little bit about commissions in the MLS.
Okay,
So we just,
the other hot topic.
the other hot topic. So we just
Okay.
anniversaried,
Oof,
no
commissions.
a year in, it was August 15th was the drop dead date. We did August 1. So we're about 14 months in of this, of no commissions in the MLS. And that was part of the NAR lawsuit. That was a mandate that came down, because people were sorting and filtering by commissions. And we absolutely, you know, they absolutely said, well, no commissions in the MLS. Now, those realtors that came into the association or into the business in the last 14 months don't know the difference, right?
Yeah.
Those of us that have been in it since 2005 do know the difference. Everything's negotiable and everything should be, you know, transparent, and it should be, you know, on a form and da 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 da. So what we're finding and we're looking at, and just so you guys know, we are checking this. We've gone as far as to check the incoming to make sure there's nothing in there.
Yeah, we can see what you guys are working on in the MLS.
We can see that. And we have, you know, we do have a very stringent policy on it. And the reason being is, and I said this from day one, on our town hall meeting last year, and I said it on the broker um, summit we did last year online, was that we will be audited for this. I'm sure that somebody will come audit us. And sure enough, as the day is long, not less than 4 months ago, we got a subpoena to provide documentation proving that we were number one, had a policy against it. And it was multifaceted, 13 different bullet points on what we had to come to the table with to prove we weren't doing this, including our compliance, including MLS samples and send them all the current actives, right? And all the supplements and everything else. I mean, they are checking this stuff, and we were one that got audited, and Naples didn't get audited, and Benita did, but we did. And they are auditing us, and that's okay. They should, right? They should audit to make sure people are in compliance, but that's the reason why we're so stringent. So I always tell people, don't get tricky, don't get smart, don't get cute, right? Don't take the pictures of, the 3 bananas on the counter and all this kind of
Sewing
stuff, but
3% into the couch pillow.
right, that people are looking at that stuff. We're using artificial intelligence, we're using human intelligence, and we're looking at it. And the fine when you do it is $1,000. And what's interesting is, we don't send that fine out unless it's 100% proven that that was done, right? And as it's $1,000 a lot of money. We know that, but it's that important. Just negotiate outside the MLS. We have people putting in lock boxes. And they're like, oh, can we do that? Yeah, it's outside the MLS. Don't put it in your showing time, right? But you can absolutely put it in your lock boxes. You can absolutely hang it from the front door if you want. I mean, it's not inside the MLS. So if that's what you
told
feel,
people the first year, tattoo it on your forehead, just don't put it in the MLS.
yeah, tattoo your photo up on the MLS. But but people are starting to do it. We gave out more fines in the last 2 quarters than we did the first 3 quarters as being a policy. So don't do it.
Yeah,
because
I think after a year, people start to get lax and
yeah, don't get cute, don't get lax. I don't care if your customer says, "Oh, put that bonus in there." I want everybody to know. What I would do is call. You have to do a little work. You call everybody up and say, "Hey, listen, my seller just added a bonus. You showed the property 2 weeks ago. You're still interested." It's that is what it is. So don't put commissions in the MLS. It will be a nightmare for you. We don't send the fine out unless it's absolute. We look at it. We want to make sure we're fair and equitable. But if it's in there, it's in there. And for us, our policy's holistic. People say, well, I didn't think that included lot and land, or I didn't think that included rentals. It includes all of it.
whether, NAR decided to include that category or not as an MLS,
We decided
we're
to,
held
because
responsible to all the data that's in there. It is every type of listing.
Mm.
And I think, several times you've said, don't get cute, and people are like, oh, that's funny. But what you really mean by that is we get the call all the time, and people say, well, what if I put in the confidential remarks, like, we love buyer's agents. We know what you guys are doing. I mean, we've been on the other side of the fence. We know what you guys are doing. And it's not just about, well, I didn't put a dollar amount, I didn't put a percentage. The idea of commission cannot be in the MLS. The conversation cannot
Right.
start with the MLS. You can't say, well, we're going to offer it, but I didn't put the number. The conversation, it can't be construed whatsoever in
Right.
the MLS per that lawsuit.
Yeah, it can't be construed, it can't be mentioned, it can't be
And
insinuated.
Yeah, it's not us here locally trying to make anything difficult on you guys. We've heard it all. That's where
Well,
it comes down from.
And talking with the broker summit a couple weeks ago, we had the
Yeah.
broker summit live, 50 some brokers in the room, and they're all like, yeah, it's been a good thing.
Mhm.
People are getting paid what they should pay, and they're negotiating their fees, and they're not settling for whatever somebody was able to negotiate on their behalf, right?
Right.
They're negotiating for themselves. And I think that it is working. People are earning money, houses are selling. It's the open marketplace is good.
Yeah,
Just
and
gotta comply to it.
the other piece to that is, Florida Realtors has done really, really good at providing you guys documentation for these changes for the commission agreements. And those are addendums that you guys use. However, it cannot go in the MLS. You guys put a lot of great supplements in the MLS, your different addendas, disclosures, things like that. Those can all go in there, but the commission addenda can not be a supplement in the MLS either.
No.
And do you want to talk to the other hot button when it comes to commissions is these links, right? A lot of people got creative with this change. They created websites to display the commissions that they've got on all of their
Right.
listings.
Yep, and they they kind of came up with this 2-click rule. Well, the it's a backward kind of process because they said it cannot be greater than 3 clicks away from the MLS, right? Because they knew people would put their websites in there and like, okay, so what do we put in there? So the 2-click rule is it's got to go to a third-party website, and then from there they have to click in to see commissions. It cannot be
Yeah.
immediate. I will tell you, as I talk to a lot of people, we do broker office visits, and I talk to agents that pull that stuff completely out. We're seeing less and less of it because nobody cares. They're going to negotiate what they want based on what their buyer broker agreement says, and it doesn't matter what you put in there,
Yeah.
right? If their buyer broker agreement's 13 bananas and you put in there you're only giving 7, they don't care. They're still going after what they need to go after. And so from that perspective, I think that people are less enticed to put that in there. There's still people, but it's got to be so you go to you click out of there, you copy and paste it. You can't click out of it, so you copy and paste it, and it goes to ABC Real Estate, and then there's a listing. You click on that listing. That listing cannot have any compensation on it. It's got to be another click outside of it. It's more of a pain
Yeah.
than it's really worth.
Yeah.
That you're going to get any kind of real response from that.
The creativity and the cuteness, just not worth it.
It's not, and I'm just telling you, I mean, it's literally probably in the last 6 months, 12 people, it's $12,000 in fines, where we absolutely saw it in there. Don't do it. If we're not finding it through AI and HI, human intelligence, your folks around here are looking for it, and they will report you
Yeah.
from that perspective. So again, we're not trying to be, we're not trying to be hard nosed on that. We know that's a lot of money, but it is electric fence. And the last thing we want, just so everybody understands, I mean, the lawsuit we signed off on that your board of directors, elected board of directors approved was for us to be protected by the lawsuit, which the $480 million NAR is paying protects each and every one of you from this lawsuit of getting sued independently, getting sued from your brokerage, etc. So if we end up failing an audit, does that mean that we're not protected? I don't know. I don't want to press that button.
No, thank you.
It's not right. We're all working too hard for the right things for that to happen. So that's the reason for it.
Yeah.
So,
Mick, I'm still seeing those conversations on third-party sites. This is an MLS control point only, correct? Yes. So third-party sites, your websites, a lot of brokerages sites, they've got the commission and the conversations around that for transparencies on their sites. Those are fine. Those are fine. It is MLS only.
yeah, it's the MLS stuff. And the only caution I would give to that comment
Yeah.
would be, watch out for, obviously, DOJ is always looking, and
Yeah.
you're always looking at
Take it as a learning lesson, right? Like you don't want to be the next MLS.
well, you don't want to be the next lawsuit. So, think about, price fixing and all the stuff that they accused people of, a standard commission. When people start using that, that kind of verbiage, they're opening themselves up for exposures. And I will tell you, I mean, I'm somebody that's probably very connected with the industry, going to some of these different conventions, and there's still lawsuits happening. May not have the headlines that the old ones did, because it may only be 1 or 2 brokerages or 1 or 2 agents for antitrust,
Right.
but they're still going
They're
after these
watching,
people.
they're watching, the brokerage websites, they're watching the behaviors, anything where they can see a pattern of behavior. But yeah, if you watch the behavior with NAR, what things they believe led to this lawsuit, you don't want that happening within your brokerage either.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. So yeah, so that's the other compliance issue is that piece. I think that we should be way beyond that. And everybody I'm talking to as I'm going out broker office visits, broker office, they're all saying that it's fine. Things are just, it's a new norm. And I said, once we get beyond a year, we should be good, but we're still finding it in there. So just be very cautious on that. Make sure you're checking, dotting your I's, crossing your T's on any MLS rules and regs. I mean, our goal here is definitely not to fine. We're not we do have to fine, but we're not here to, that's not our priority. Our priority is to put things in place to help educate, to keep it a fair open market, and look at everything independently that comes across the desk as far as a compliance issue. We have a full-time compliance administrator that looks at nothing but rules and regs and deals with agents all day long. Again, she's just upholding what's been out there. Some of these rules and regs, if you look at them on the MLS, are the M stands for mandate. That's NAR's mandate to us. We can't control that. We're still part of that. So, she's just there to uphold those rules. And again, in most cases, you got time to fix it, 3 days to fix a lot of the violations. Commissions in the MLS is not one of those things. And then the other one we covered, which is the clear cooperation, is also not one that's a cure, right?
You got 24 hours.
If you post something on Friday on Facebook saying this house is gorgeous, Mitch Canal home, and you put MLS on the following Wednesday, that's beyond your 2 days, and you will just receive a fine on it. I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately, but that's part of it. You gotta just know the rules and comply to them, and it's not that hard. Everybody's held to the same standard too, so nobody's getting away with it. I mean, that's the other good news. But
as you guys are going through this and you feel that you're like in a gray area, unclear, charter, just give us a call. We're here to help you guys with that, whether it's going to be, Amy in compliance, helping you know what the rules are, whether it's you trying to figure out, you're putting in delayed marketing, what kind of domino effect that might have. We're here to help you guys out, answer those questions. You can email in mls@rpcra.org, or you can call in 8:30 to 5 every day. The girls are here, well, Monday through Friday, here to answer your questions and help you guys through that process as well. Because we don't want you to feel like you're kind of like out there trying to figure it out. And if it's something that has to do with like a bigger picture contract, things like that, I want to remind you guys that being part of Florida Realtors, you have access to Legal Hotline. They will answer a lot of your legal questions, your contract questions, trying to figure out those different processes. So if you go to Florida Realtors website, you can pull up their number. I think they're looking at doing a chat too, but so you can pull up their number, you call them, and they'll ask for your member number, prove that you're a member, and they're there to help you guys out with those bigger questions as well. So, all right, we've got a longer question here. I still feel that there's a bit of a double standard. These compensation rules are all on buyer broker compensation. I don't understand how these listing side brokers can be advertising at, I'm not going to read, I don't want to read out a percentage, but there's a percentage in here. So we'll say 1 banana, 2 banana brokerage. It's semantics, but I still think it's discussion of compensation, which ultimately affects the customer's experience. It's all on what side of the coin you might focus on.
well, yeah, and I think that, again, I don't run the Department of Justice, so I mean,
The world would be a different place, guys.
but I would say that they're not advertising on the MLS anywhere. And in a free open marketplace, I think it would probably support the fact that everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
And if I advertise a vehicle at $1,100, and people are like, oh my God, you $1,100 vehicle? How can you sell a vehicle for $1,100? And across the street they're selling it for $7,500, the same exact vehicle. Well, what's the difference about it, right? Well, I did an inspection, the $7,500 one. I road tested it. We did a full, thorough, look under the hood and under the car, and replaced all the worn parts. We did all these different things to it. We're warranting it for 2 years. Well, that's a different car now. It may look the same on the lot, but when you really dig into it, it's completely different. So what I always tell people, and as a consumer, is what I look for, and I tell the story when I do the new member orientation, is as I looked at, for my last house using a realtor, it did come down to what they provided, and whether it's listing it, what are you going to do for me? And I may be more educated in the process because I've been in the industry for 20 years. But even my own uncle, who's never sold real estate, never been in it, he's going to ask you a million questions, right? Because he's an engineer. He's going to ask you a million questions of what you do to get the house sold. And if you don't satisfy him, he's going to call the next person on the list. And he's willing to pay you whatever you want, but he wants results, right? So I hear what you're saying. We police the commission on the MLS that's out of there. But again, on what you're speaking of on the listing commission, yeah, I mean, I can take a billboard out tomorrow and go, and you have this all over the place. If you pick up the Florida Weekly, you'll have in the back of the Florida Weekly under the business section, and I just saw this 2 days ago. You'll have one side will say divorce $199 divorce,
Easy peasy.
right? And then next to it, you have a divorce attorney, you call them like, well, that's a retainer of $3,000. Well, wait a minute, your competitor's doing $199. Yeah, but what does they do for the $199? They send you a form, you fill out, you sign, and then they're gonna file it for you. That's it. They're not going to court for you, they're not gonna figure out finances or dissemination of assets. They're doing that one thing for you. So there is difference of services, which is what that is, right? And that's why I always tell people, bring your value to the table. I mean, I had almost laughed somebody out of my house when I listed it in Dallas, Texas, before I moved here, because I asked what they're going to do for me to market my house to give me the most amount of money for the asset I worked so hard for. And I laughed at him, and he got upset to the point where he almost cried. And I asked for him out of the house because his answers
making people cry.
Yeah, his answers was nonsense. And it's like, you're charging me X and that's what you're gonna do? So I
But
hear
then
what you're
again,
saying.
that comes back to the conversation, with NAR, they say seller choice, right?
Yeah, sellers do have choices. I get it.
So, but
Um,
great points, Mick. Thank you for writing in on that. All right, that is all of our Q&A.
all right, perfect. So just a couple last kind of final thoughts on this. Delayed marketing, I think it's an interesting policy. I think sellers should have choices on it. I think it's, people make it more complicated what it really is.
Just
People
a
talk
little
about
steps.
coming soon is a question we get a lot. I will tell you from my conversations with one particular portal, as recently as last week, Tuesday, in Toronto, was that if we end up going to that kind of system where you truly have a coming soon, your listing will not be displayed. It's their policy. There's no forgiveness there. I'm getting forgiveness with that same portal for the delayed marketing on the 7 days of withholding it. But if we really went to a coming soon, we would be at the mercy of that. So as we get people asking about that kind of stuff, that's one of the bigger considerations that we get it probably once a week, maybe. It's not often, but you're affecting 10,000 members whose then stuff won't be displayed on certain portals. So that's the tough decision with that. But all right, that's it.
Awesome. If you guys need anything, again, you can email us in mls@rpcra.org or give us a call. And if you need it, this video will be up on YouTube by the end of the week.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.